Hello, welcome to my Part 5 presentation on project management. On this presentation, I'm going to talk about 4 system development methodologies. These are Scrum, Lean, Kanban, and the Spiral methods. So, let's continue now. The Scrum, this is an agile framework for managing and completing complex projects. So it has got certain elements that really need to be looked at. One of the thing is system developer have got what we call a Scrum team. It consists of cross-functional members. These are members who have got different skill sets, works together to complete the project. And it has got Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Development team. A sprint is a time boxed iteration. This is the iteration where you really complete one element that really needs to be completed. This is depending, it's lasting between 4 weeks, during which a team works to deliver a usable product increment. So you might really start with the minimum bare systems, and then at each iteration, you really improve that product development. So you have got what we call product backlog. The product backlog is prioritized list of requirements for the product. In presentation part 4, I talked about prioritization using different methods, whether you're really going to use Moscow or other methods, Eisenhower methods, that really fits for the particular case, is really developed for producing what we call product backlog. And then the sprint backlog really looks at list of tasks the team commits to complete during that current sprint. So during that sprint, certain selected from that backlog will be completed. And then when you're really doing this one, you will have what we call daily scrum. That's the daily scrum meeting. So what is really in terms of talking about progresses, difficulties, obstacles, how you're going to really solve those obstacles, what are the key elements in there, how is the progress is going on. So this is regarding about in terms of any project management whereby you really measuring, discussing project progresses, obstacles, challenges, and solutions. The sprint review is a meeting at the end of the sprint where the team demonstrates the work completed and get feedback from stakeholders. So this is at the end of that, customers will, the stakeholders will really test the systems and get the feedback in terms of what has been really achieved. The sprint retrospective is a meeting at the end of the sprint where the team reflects on the sprint and identifies ways to improve the process. So the Scrum emphasizes collaboration, adaptability, or this continuous improvement. The adaptability is a sort of adapting to the changing requirement from coming from the stakeholders, from the customers, and the team really works for a continuous improvement of it. So this is sort of producing usable product increment at each sprint. Yeah? So Scrum is a popular agile methodology used by development of teams around the world. This is particularly well suited for projects with a rapidly changing requirement or complex dependencies. So that is the key element is where Scrum is really used. The next method, the system development method, is Lean method. This is a philosophy or more of rather than a method and a set of principles that originate from in manufacturing. So the core principles are value. What value the customer is getting in terms of delivering that value for the customers. Whatever product you really give it, what is really the value for that customer? So the value is really important in terms of it. So the value stream is mapping the entire process for delivering value. This is sort of identifying areas of waste and continuously improving the processes. Whether you're really producing, the way you really produce it. So you're looking at not only sort of the value, The value stream is the process whereby you really identifying when you are really delivering that value area of waste and how you're going to really continuously improve that. Flow, this is optimizing the flow of work and reducing bottlenecks. So whether it is using different resources, allocation, working patterns, whatever really that is really looking at impacting on the flow of the work, you really introduces that reducing that bottleneck, so creating efficiency. Pull is sort of producing work based on customer demand rather than pushing work through the system. So you really can have a sort of that your work should really be valuable for the customers, and that has to really be dependent on not what really you are planning to do, but what is really the customer demand is, what really needs to be done. The next one is perfection, striving for continuous improvement and excellence in all aspects of the process. So the lean methodology is centered around the idea of delivering value to the customer while minimizing waste and inefficiencies. So it is designed to create a culture change, a culture of continuous improvement and learning with a focus on delivering high quality results. So this is a sort of a system whereby continuous measurement of the value streams conducted, where systems are really looked at for continuous improvement and learning, reflection from what has been done, and learn for the next iteration, where it really provides a high quality result with minimizing waste and inefficiencies. So in software development, the lean methodology can be used to streamline the development process, eliminate waste, and focus on delivering high value features to the customer. It is often used in conjunction with agile methodologies such as Scrum or Kanban. This can be tailored to fit the specific needs of the development team. So next one is looking at Kanban, is a lean methodology for managing and improving work across human systems. It's a context of software development. So Kanban is a methodology that helps team visualize work, limit work in progresses, and improve the workflow, the flow of work. The key element of the Kanban system is visual board. A visual board that represents the workflow of the development process. So it represents a stage into the development process, and each task work item is presented by a card that moves through the workflow. To what that workflow board is showing progress of that particular task. So work in progress is limits are set for each stage of the workflow to prevent overloading and to keep work flowing smoothly. So when you're really inefficient workers that are not really contributing to the workflow progress are really identified and smoothed out, so that it really all tasks, all efforts are geared in terms of progressing the works required. Pull-based system, work is pulled through the development process based on available capacity and work that has been completed. So it is really the two in terms of the capacity and work that has been done. This Kanban is a sort of continuous improvement, as it is really based on lean methodology. So it's to be continuously improved with regular review on the processes. So the benefit of the system is improved visibility, what needs to be done, reduced cycle times, increased efficiency. So it is particularly well suited for teams that have a high volume of work, okay, and frequent changes. So it enables teams to be more responsive to changes in priorities and requirements. So in software development, Kanban system can be used to manage the development process from planning and design to development, testing, and deployment. This is often used in conjunction with agile methods such as Scrum or XP and can be tailored to fit the specific needs of the development team. So the spiral model is a software development methodology that combines the iterative and incremental nature of agile methodologies with systematic controlled aspect of the waterfall model. The spiral model is often used for large, complex projects where the risks and requirements are not fully understood. So its key characteristics are that it is iterative in nature. So you really produce the bare minimum systems and then continuously improve through the iteration. The unique characteristics, the key characteristics of the spiral model is risk management. These are for projects that risks and requirements are not actually fully understood. So this is to minimize those kinds of the risk element of it. The spiral model focuses heavily on risk management, identifying mitigating potential risks at each stage of the development. So you look at risks, the probability of those risks, the impact of those risks. This is what kinds of impact it will have if it really happens. What are really the level of probabilities that this risk will really happen, and what are the plans, mitigating plans you really set out for this risk management. So your mitigating measures has really to be there, as when the risk are identified or when the risk happens, you have already the plan. But if you don't, both in these cases you might not really have, because these systems are really designed for projects where risks and requirements are not fully understood. So you really need to create mitigating measures. So the phases, the spiral model consists of four main phases: the planning, risk analysis, engineering, and evaluation. So in the planning, you really say, look at this as the planning. Then you risk analysis will really go there. You really measure into what is the probability of the risk. What is really the chance that the risk can be identified? If you cannot actually identify a risk, that is a very critical element in terms of identification of risks. Uh, if risk cannot really be identified, you cannot actually plan for it, and that it has got impacts, huge impact. If a risk is difficult to um, identify, then, and if its impact is great on the project, that risk need to really be managed in terms of what you can mitigate it with. So these are really in terms of how do you engineer that risk management. How do you then evaluate whether that mitigating measure has really been is good enough to really uh, avoid this high level of risk. So the feedback, the SPI model includes regular feedback from customers and stakeholders. So to really look at that, product meets their needs and expectation. The SPI model is designed to be flexible and adaptable, allowing the changes to adjustment to be made throughout the development process. It is particularly well suited for a large, complex project where the requirement risks are not fully understood at the outset of the project. So this is a sort of a continuous looking in terms of it. So one of the key benefits of the SPI model is that emphasize on risk management by identifying mitigating potential risks at each stage of the development process. So there might really be sort of the risk management is key in here. So what is the probability of the risk? What are the extent that we can actually detect that risk? What is the level of impact of that risk? Those are the things that really need to be in terms of looked at a regular interval. So this is a sort of minimize the impact of unforeseen events. These unforeseen events really means that as unforeseen risks that are really coming in terms of producing the final product. The iterative nature of the spiral model allows the continuous improvement and refinement of the product in the final product, the need and expectation of the customer. Thank you for your attention. Stop recording in here.